How's it going, everyone? Today I'm going to talk about a certain excitement behind central bank digital currencies. A lot of people think that this is a horrible idea, and so do I. But the implementation is really starting to take place. We're starting to see the repercussions of central bank digital currencies, aka CBDCs. Now, there's a country that has actually started using them last year. And according to Bloomberg, now we're going to see something that is absolutely insane. So in order to transition people away from the use of cash, traditional use of cash, or even checks, personal checks, right, that you write or your grandma writes, the action is the latest in a string of central bank orders aimed at limiting the use of cash and expand digital currencies to so-called help improve access to banking, whatever that means. Now, this is Nigeria. So according to Bloomberg, their economy is largely informal, okay? Whatever that means, right? Informal. So cash outside banks represents apparently around 85% of currency in circulation. And it says here that according to Bloomberg, around 40 million adults are without any sort of bank account. So it's a pretty large number. The central bank last month there in Nigeria announced plans to issue, this is the really weird part, they issued a redesigned high-value note from mid-December to mop up excess cash. And it's given residents until the end of January to turn in their old cash. Okay, remember, supposedly cash in the country, 85% is in circulation, okay? And 85% of that cash in currency circulation is outside of banks. Therefore, the banks, they want to get their cut. They want to get their cut. So the central bank wants to control this informal economy. So the weird part is the banks also plan to mint more of the e-Naira digital currency. So e-Naira is the CBDC in Nigeria, okay, the central bank digital currency, e-Naira. So it was launched last year but has faced tremendously slow adoption. People don't want to use it, obviously. They don't trust it at all. Only 1 in 200 Nigerian citizens use e-Naira. That's not very many people at all. And this is despite the Nigerian government really pushing sort of these certain amount of discounts and even incentives to try to get people logged on using their own CBDC. And of course, unsurprising, a lot of people see these discounts and other incentives as sort of a desperate attempt by the Nigerian government to try to get people to kind of get excited, start using their CBDC e-Naira, which clearly is not taking any kind of hold. So because of this super uber slow adoption, right, the government is looking to boost the usage of the CBDCs, the e-Naira, get this, by limiting ATM withdrawals. Now, these are daily withdrawals, so it's going to be limited to $45 per day, which is a really tiny amount. And just for comparison's sake, the previous withdrawal limit was roughly $350. That's considerably higher than $45. Just to get rid of the cash in circulation, that's pretty staggering difference. And of course, it gets a little more loony every time the government goes into a place and then they try to hyper-manage and control not only the economy but people's lives. Things end up backfiring, right? They end up implementing wackier methods of control. So what's crazy is these new rules are going to take effect next month, very, very soon. Okay, so the 9th, January the 9th, the ban, this one is, I mean, it caught me by surprise, the ban of cashing of checks. Ban the cashing of checks above $112 for over-the-counter. It's a very low amount, $112. Now it gets even more interesting. The banks are only allowed to load their ATMs with certain low denominations, okay? So I guess limit the circulating cash in this informal economy, as Bloomberg calls it, while individuals and corporations would be allowed to cash a max of 5 to 10 million of the fiat, respectively, if there are compelling circumstances, not exceeding once a month. So everything is totally controlled, capped, and really monitored. Okay, so it's pretty weird. As the central bank said, customers should be encouraged to use alternative channels besides cash, internet banking, mobile banking apps, USSD, cards, POS, point of sale, e-Naira, to conduct their banking transactions, really aiming to get rid of that cash society, essentially. Now, what's interesting is that Qcoin, one of the leading crypto exchanges in the world, said that 35% of the adult population in Nigeria, roughly 34 million adults between the ages of 18 and 60, own Bitcoin or some other type of crypto. And when it came to the country's CBDC, the Central Bank Digital Currency, the e-Naira, it was basically a massive failure in their own words. So people like crypto or Bitcoin, but they're not such a big fan of the CBDCs. Like I said before, Bloomberg estimates that roughly only 1 in 200 Nigerians, so that's less than 1% of the population, is using e-Naira, the CBDC. That's less than 1%. That's that's basically, it's a massive failure. It's 0% success. Why does any of this matter? Well, I really believe they're using Nigeria as a testing ground. Now, part of that is because Nigerians love crypto. They are a big lovers of Bitcoin and other crypto. It has one of the highest adaptation rates of Bitcoin, for example. So it would make sense if they were just to transition to the use of CBDCs, right? Bloomberg goes on to admit that Nigerians' passion for crypto or Bitcoin doesn't extend to the central bank digital system, the central bank digital currencies. Why? Because they view e-Naira or CBDCs as a symbol of distrust towards the ruling class. So they clearly are not dumb people. They're really smart people. They don't trust the people that have devalued their own fiat, their own currency, right? They see the government as hostile towards the people, sadly, and they have no interest in anything that they are going to introduce. Ouch. Nigeria actually has some unique properties, and one of them being is that it's the most populous country in Africa. Okay, so that's a pretty big deal. They have very diverse, 250 ethnic groups in that country, and Christianity, Islam being the two main religions. Now, they also have the largest river in West Africa. So all this stuff is good for trade and business, okay? And of course, apparently it's got the second biggest Nollywood industry, the filming industry, which is pretty interesting. It's also part of OPEC and one of the largest producers of crude oil in the world, okay? I think it's like the 10th or 11th. So very important country from those kinds of viewpoints. Now the population one is interesting. Nigeria has seen a population surge from 95 million, okay, to roughly 201 million in 2019. And this is set to double again to more than 400 million people by 2050, when it will overtake the US as the third most populous country in the world. Okay, so it makes sense to use this as a testing ground for CBDCs, especially in a country that has taken up a massive crypto / Bitcoin adaptation, okay? And they obviously use a lot of cash. So very interesting stuff for the banking class to try it out there. Nigeria, as of 2020, is the largest economy in all of Africa, which is pretty big for a whole continent. It's the largest economy in the whole continent. So it makes sense. It makes sense as to why they are the testing ground. But again, it's a massive flop, so who cares? And that's a testament to the people, okay? They're not buying into the CBDC stuff. They have a cash withdrawal limit of $45 when the whole country, 85% of the country, runs on cash. So Nigerians are really smart, you know. Clearly, they don't give a rat's ass about CBDCs. They are not going to be controlled by their central bankers. And obviously, their economy, despite running on 85% unbanked cash circulating, okay, in this informal economy, they're not using the CBDCs at all. It's a huge, massive failure. 0.5% of the population actually bothering to use it at all. And when they cap the cash withdrawal at $45, that's pretty crazy, because you as a citizen, right, you are limited. The country runs on cash deals. 85% of the cash circulating is unbanked. That means the country is running on cash deals. So when the country economy is running on cash deals, guess what? And you cap everyone at 45, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to like you. That's what you get with CBDCs. Management and control by a few bureaucrats that think they know what's best for your life. This is way more interesting than NPR, and this goes to show you what the heck people are going to be trying out in the next, 5 years. It's happening in the US. They're doing it in Europe. So it's coming. China's obviously already done it. Let's see how it works out. There's a good indication that a lot of people are just not going to buy into it. So I'm very happy about that. I see hope for the future that maybe certain better solutions can be implemented instead of these hyper managing, hyper controlling methods, okay, like CBDC. But anyways, that's it for now, guys. Thanks for watching. Smash like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.
Can anybody out there hear me? Hear me?